Hi, John Morgan here, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And the last few weeks, and practically the last month, we've kind of been every other week. And that's because this time of year is actually our busiest time of year. So, as you can see with the background behind me, this is the main thing that we're doing this time of year is growing seedling plugs. So, up first this week, I thought we would head out to the greenhouse for a quick update of what's happening out there. And the place where I went this week is a place that I visited. Um, let's see, it was back in, I believe, December. Um, so, just a few months ago in December, this section of the greenhouse looked a lot different, and you'll see that in this video update. So, let's take a look at what's happening out in the greenhouse. Today I'm out here in the greenhouse, and this is coming up on the peak of our spring plug growing season. So, the last time I was out in this exact area, it looked quite a bit different because we were doing some maintenance out here. So I'll put that up right in this area, probably right about now. But now this whole section of the greenhouse is full of seedlings, and also above my head right here, you can see some geranium baskets, and then we also have some fern baskets in this area. So let's check out what we have growing. Alright, I'm up on a ladder here to give you a little bit of a bird's eye view of one of our basket watering systems. So our baskets run on this cable that has hooks in it, and it goes all the way down 300 feet to the end of this bay and then circles back. And we can hang the baskets on two different levels, and as they come down to this end, they trigger a couple switches, and there's some valves there, and a watering head there, and then another one down here. And that waters the baskets as they go by. And also, to know where the beginning and end is, we have this really high-tech ribbon that's hanging down. Alright, so that's what's happening out in the greenhouse right now. And as you can see, things are really starting to ramp up for spring. And I've been trying to get out into the greenhouse to start getting a lot of photos and documenting it. So, of course, you can follow us online. Um, right now, you're either watching on Facebook or YouTube, but we're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And most of those places you can find us at Bob's Market. On YouTube, it's a little bit different. It's Bob's Market Greenhouse. That's because Bob's Market was already taken. But anyhow, we've seen what's happening out in the greenhouse. And for this week's kind of feature segment, I wanted to introduce you guys to my hydroponics system at home. And the hydroponics system that I chose is called Let Us Grow, but there are a bunch of different systems right now. And if you get online and search for them, there's a company called Garden, Gardyn, that makes a similar system. And there's also a bunch of homebrew systems that you can kind of get plans for and build on your own. So even this system that I have, is the design of it is custom, but all of the internal guts that make it work basically use off the shelf parts. So that way it's very easy to repair. So things like the timers are just regular timers that you could buy at like a hardware store. And the pump is actually just a garden fountain pump. Uh, so I thought I would introduce you to the hydroponics system in this video, kind of talk a little bit about how it works and just how much vegetables I'm getting from it. Um, I've been growing hydroponic lettuce now for about 3 months. We set up the system in December and we've had fresh vegetables all throughout the winter. And I think it's a really neat system. It's fairly low maintenance. I mean, compared to gardening outdoors, it takes about an hour a week to do the maintenance on it. And even then, when it comes to like harvesting and stuff like that, we could just sort of go in with a knife and a bowl and kind of pick vegetables off of it. So let's take a look at my hydroponic system. This afternoon, we are here in my house in an area that we're still kind of remodeling. But beside me here, I have our Let Us Grow farm stand. Now, here at Bob's, we're in no way affiliated with Let Us Grow, but their system is what I chose for my own house. And I contacted them and got permission to share it here on Bob's Live. So this is a hydroponic growing system that you can set up in your own house, and it is extremely easy to operate. Basically, you set a couple timers, one timer for the lights and another timer for the pump, and then you only have to do maintenance on it about once every 1 to 2 weeks. And basically that consists of topping off the water tank and adding nutrients to it, and then also checking and adjusting the pH. So as you can see here, I've got some crops like this butter lettuce that's just about ready to harvest. And then one level up, I have some plants. It's actually more butter lettuce that's a little bit younger. So what I do is with each level, I kind of cycle crops through. But I've had this up and running now for about 3 months, and I've cycled a number of crops through it. But right now what I need to do is start emptying out rings, working toward a quarterly maintenance. So once every 3 months, it's recommended that you basically disassemble it, clean it really good, and do what they call a reset. So right now I'm not going to plant any new seedlings, and anything that I empty out, I have basically little cups that I can insert in that kind of blank off that hole. So let me get us in a little bit closer and I can show you a little bit more about how this works. Okay, so here we are a little bit closer to the lettuce grow. And each level has 6 growing cups. And this unit is 6 levels tall, so I can grow 36 plants in here at once. And what I did to kind of help keep things organized is I have a little tag right here um, that I can basically scan, and I have a spreadsheet that I use to keep track of everything because, hey, I'm an IT guy. But here you can see this is younger Butter Crunch lettuce, and then this is some that's just about ready to be harvested. Probably later on this week, I'll be pulling these out and harvesting them. But the way this works is it's not really aeroponics where you kind of water with a mist, and it's not really hydroponics where you flood a chamber and then kind of go on an ebb and flow cycle. So this, it kicks on and then water trickles down through it, and it's designed in such a way that the level above funnels water into the level below. But you're basically growing without soil, or well, without very much soil. There's a little tiny plug of soil here, and then the roots just kind of grow out into the chamber behind it and kind of down through. So something that I do have to do periodically is go in and do some root trimming, because things like the tomatoes down on the bottom, their roots get extremely long and they'll actually grow down into the bottom of the tank, and potentially they could plug up the pump. But if I'm really careful here, this plant's a little bit younger, so it's a little bit easier to pull out. I can pop out the cup, and here you can see the roots. So this plant, it's a little bit younger. It's been in here for a couple weeks. I actually started it from seed. But right there is all the soil that there is. And then you can see just the root growth coming out the back. So yeah, I started these from seed under grow lights, actually just right in my kitchen. And it takes about a week to 2 weeks to start seed, depending on their germination rate. And then I just transplant them into the little cage. And let me be careful here feeding the roots back in that I don't chop any off. And that's all there is to it. So it's really fairly maintenance free. Like I said, about once a week to every 2 weeks, I have to do maintenance on it, where I add fertilizer and check the levels. And that's what takes the longest amount of time, which it takes about an hour to do the weekly maintenance on it. And again, me being me, I keep a whole spreadsheet of information like the temperature, humidity, water temperature, how much nutrients I need to add. I'm also measuring what's called the EC level, or the electrical conductivity of the water. And that you can sort of translate into how much or what the nutrient concentration is in the water. So by doing that, I'm able to keep a little bit closer track of the nutrient levels. So I'm getting ready to empty out this layer up above right here. And it has a Swiss chard that's growing in it currently. And that kind of brings me to the next topic. So let's bump up to there. All right, so while I was moving the camera, the heat kicked on here in my house, which I have overhead heating vents, and that actually works out good for where I have the hydroponic tower positioned, because one of the things that you do need around this is airflow. And it does a number of things. First of all, like things like tomatoes, it actually helps with the pollination of them where I'm growing inside. But also getting airflow in around it is important, because as the plants are growing, they're doing photosynthesis, and that kind of creates a bubble of oxygen around it. So with periodic airflow kicking on, that clears away the oxygen and just helps the plants grow. So the Swiss chard that I have growing in this ring, it's been in here for right around a month. And it's starting to look pretty ragged, because Swiss chard, along with things like leaf lettuces, you can kind of do a cut and come again process where you can trim off. So I can come in if I'm wanting to cook something. I can come in and cut off a few leaves just as I'm cooking. So I actually just made some ramen noodles a little bit ago, and I added some Swiss chard to it. But I do need to clean these out. And what I'm going to do is just blank off these holes until I get ready to do the reset. So down below, I've got two bowls. I've got an orange one here, or I'm colorblind, this is yellow. But I have a yellow one that I'm going to put my scraps in. They're going to head out to the compost pile. And then I also have a Tupperware bowl where I'm going to put everything that's going to head into the kitchen. So with harvesting, I easily get enough for my wife and I to have at least 1 to 2 salads a day. And I'm not talking small salads, I'm talking, you know, a good sized salad bowl a day. And what we try to do is rotate crops. So as I'm finishing up a ring and emptying it out, I usually have seedlings starting to head into the lettuce grow tower. But in this case, since I'm heading toward doing a reset, I want to start emptying this out, and then I'm going to start replanting it after the reset, kind of in stages. So the seed trays that I have, I can do 12 seedlings in, which is 2 rings. So I'll probably start 1 tray of seedlings in 1 week, then another tray the next week, and then probably another tray the week after that, once I do the reset. But with these today, I'm going to be pulling them out and actually plugging up the holes with this. And this is one of the baskets, and I don't know who discovered this on the Let Us Grow Facebook page, but you can use a little red Solo shot glass and it pops right into the little cups, and then you can pop those in, and what that does is it just keeps water from splashing out. You can see where I've reused these. It's got some nutrient buildup around the bottom. But it keeps water from splashing out. Also, if I were growing outdoors, if you had a lot of light getting in, there's the danger of algae. So this kind of helps mitigate that risk. But for indoors, it's more to just prevent water from splashing out. So let me go ahead and pop this guy out. So we saw a plant that was younger. This plant has been in for about a month, and you can see the root growth there. You can also see a little bit of dark roots. So that's some roots that have kind of died just during the process of growing. So let me set those down, and then what I'm going to do, and kind of clean that out a little bit. This is also a good time to check. Right there, some roots from the layer above that's kind of sticking down through. I can kind of feel around there and feel if those holes are blocked. And it feels okay, because up above here, I have some violas. Which violas, they're an edible plant. And yeah, we pick off the blooms and add those as a garnish to our salads. I can just pop that in, and I'm going to work my way around here. Alright, so I've finished harvesting the Swiss chard, and this is how much I got just off that one ring. And the great thing is where I'm growing it indoors, I don't have to worry about pesticides or really even dirt or anything like that being on it. So we can literally just pick it right off of the hydroponic tower and just eat it. So, oh yeah, that tastes garden fresh with the nutrient mix. And, you know, this is ready to go. And the great thing is, if you're buying lettuce at the store, you know, it's been sitting on a shelf for who knows how long. This is freshly picked. One of the things that we were surprised by when we started growing our own lettuce hydroponically is it lasts forever in the fridge. So this, it'll last a good 2 to 3 weeks in the refrigerator, just sealed up and kept cool. So let's take a look at some of the other stuff that I have planted here in our hydroponic tower. Alright, so starting up here at the top, I have, as I mentioned, some violas, and these make a great garnish for salads. And a lot of people don't know it, but violas and pansies are actually edible, so you can use them in salads. And on around up here I have, this is some spearmint. And then here on the back side I have some cilantro. And the cilantro and this mint, which I don't know if I'm going to keep the mint in here. It just, I mean, look at it, it's growing out the top of it. It grows insanely fast, and I don't cook with that much mint. I add some to my tea, but that's about it. So it really is just taking up space, and I'm not really utilizing it as much as I probably should. So I might try transplanting it outside once the weather gets warmer. And then around here, another thing that I do eat a lot of, but again, it's just growing faster than I can use it, is dill. And it's actually growing out the top, and I've actually got a nice little bloom going on, so I might make some dill pickles. And right here we can see the cilantro, which we do use the cilantro quite a lot, so I'll cut off an entire bunch of it at one time. One of our favorite recipes to make with cilantro is a Mexican bean salad. So we'll make that. I can actually make like 2 batches of it a week just off of this one cilantro plant. And then while I was kind of reorganizing, I moved down here some spinach. And then around here I have a little pepper plant that I have started. Now, the thing with the lettuce grow is that I only have about a foot of space in between each ring. So any plants that you pick that tend to get larger, like a pepper plant or like the dill up here, you want to make sure that you get compact varieties. So this, it's a variety called Mini Bell, and it produces little teeny tiny bell peppers. And then, of course, this ring had the chard in it that I just now picked. Down below, we have the butter lettuce. And here you can kind of see my little labels a little bit up close. So the app that I use to keep track of these, it uses 2D barcodes. So I can scan the barcode and then pull up the information on this slot. And that way I'm tying the information to an individual slot. So when I move something around like this guy that I just moved from up here, I'm going to have to update that information a little bit later, but that's pretty easy to do. Down below this Butter Crunch lettuce, I have this variety of Butter Crunch, which this variety is a straight kind of run-of-the-mill green variety. This is actually a dappled variety. So you can see the dappling there in it, which is really interesting. And then around here, I have an oak leaf lettuce. And this oak leaf lettuce, it is just amazing because these stems, they are just so juicy. I mean, whenever I pick it, I can just see the moisture coming out of it. So let me break off a piece there, and you can see how thick and juicy that is. And I never thought I would describe vegetables, especially lettuce, as juicy, but that is the perfect description for something like this. And then we'll drop down to the next level here. This is kind of a classic variety that you see seed packs for in stores. And this I grew from seed. This is black seeded Simpson leaf lettuce. And then over here, I have a leaf lettuce mix. So you can see there's a few different varieties, and these were all planted in one single plug. So there's like 3 or 4 different varieties of leaf lettuce here. And then this one, it's starting to grow back. Just harvested it the other day. But it's got some new growth coming out on it. So it's another one of those that's kind of cut and come again. You can kind of cut it off, leave it about an inch or so, and then it'll grow back. And then down here on the bottom ring, I've got some more. This is spinach. I've got an older pea plant here. It just has one little pea that's starting to come out on it. It did have a huge vine, and I got maybe 8 or 9 peas off of it. It's one of those things that just adds some interest to your salads. And then over here, I've got some tomato plants. And I've got some pretty good sized tomatoes, but I've got some of these little teeny tiny ones that are just now starting to turn. And again, they're one of those things that you can just add to a salad and adds a little pop of flavor to it. And if I come on around to this side, I've got a little bit younger tomato plant that I just started and another pea plant. And then down here at the bottom, this is the plug that I use to add water, and then also it's where the cords come out. All right, so this was kind of a quick introduction to my hydroponics system. We're definitely going to be revisiting it. So whenever I do the reset, I think that's going to be the best time for me to kind of talk about the nutrients and where I get the nutrients, what the nutrients are, and the whole process of getting this thing set up and running. So I'll do that in an upcoming video. I just wanted to kind of give you an introduction to it today. So this is something you're definitely going to be seeing more of on Bob's Live. All right, so that was kind of a quick tour and an introduction to my hydroponics system at home. And let me look at the name here. Let's see. I can't read that side. Susan Martin. She asked during the video, how much does the system cost? And that was a factor for us when we were shopping around for a hydroponic system. I had a few kind of requirements, and I kind of weighed the different systems, and of course it's different for everybody. For us it was space and also price, which something that helped us was we bought ours as a Black Friday sale, so we actually got, I think it was 40% off on the setup. It was either 40 or 50%. It was a really good deal. And then they also, you can order the seedlings directly from this company. So I start my own seedlings, but as part of the package starting out, uh, I got the first set of seedlings free from them, and they actually ship them overnight, and they come in a surprisingly small box in like little clamshell containers that you open up. And it was a great system as far as ordering the seedlings if you don't want to start them yourself. Um, for me, the main difference is cost. If I'm growing the seedlings myself, the system that I'm using, all of my seed trays are reusable. I'm using grow lights, and really the only cost that I have is in the peat plugs that I'm using, because you do have to use kind of a special peat plug that has a binder in it. So that way you don't have dirt breaking off into the soil or into the water. So it's more of a spongy kind of peat moss. Um, but I buy those plugs from Amazon. I buy them in bulk. And what I do is I take the extra ones that I'm not using. They actually come pre-moistened. But the ones that I'm not going to use right away, I dry them out and then bag them up in sizes or in amounts that fit my plug trays. Um, but by growing the seeds myself, I'm able to do it for about 60 cents per seedling. And if I purchase the seedlings through them, it runs about $3 per seedling. So that plays into the economics of it. Another thing that I was looking at when I picked out my system is a lot of these fancier systems require an internet connection. So there's some systems that have water level monitors and all sorts of different things. There was one that even had like a webcam so you could check on your plants while you're away. The only problem is where I live, which is kind of surprising considering that I'm the IT manager here. I don't have an internet connection at my house that's hardwired. At home, I just rely on my cell phone and using it as a hotspot to connect to my laptop. So I don't have an internet connection that's always on at home. So that kind of knocked those systems out of the running immediately. I'm starting to get kind of off topic. Susan asked how much it costs. So I got the system at 40% off for around, I think it was around 700. But starting off with the smaller size systems, you're looking in the $600 to $700 range, depending on who you choose, and then it can go up to around 1,200. I've seen systems as high as $2,000. But then also, you can kind of do your own homebrew system out of PVC pipe. So I know at one local high school, uh, they actually have a hydroponics system where they grow lettuce, and it's all built out of PVC pipe. So it's a similar style system, but it was all home built. And that, of course, you can do a lot cheaper. And this system, I mean, the underlying equipment that's running it is very simple. It has a fountain pump and some cheap programmable timers. Um, which, give me just a second. Alrighty, I'm back. I had to go unplug a timer. So this is just a plug-in timer where you can set the little tabs for the on and off. And I actually have this one hooked up to a grow light that's in my window here, with the plants that we took cuttings off of a few weeks ago. So this, where it's set up for lighting, I have it running right now, I think around 12 hours, no, 17 hours a day, because this has very low light output. Um, but uh, basically, the let us grow system, it uses two of these timers. And this one, I believe it only sets at 30-minute intervals. The timers that Let Us Grow uses, I can go down to 15 minutes. Because basically during the daytime when the lights are on, the pump runs for 15 minutes once an hour. So basically it's on for 15 minutes, then off for 45 throughout the day. Then during the nighttime when the lights are off, it runs for 15 minutes and then it's off for an hour and a half. And then it runs for 15 minutes and it's off for an hour and a half. So really, I mean, it's dead simple with a mechanical timer. And again, it sounds crazy coming from an IT person, but something simple and mechanical like this is a lot more reliable than electronics, especially when you're dealing with electronics around water. And water with a lot of salts in it at that, because you've got all the nutrients mixed in. I should know because I work at a greenhouse where we have electronics around water. And that was a whole headache that I just didn't want at my house. And the nice thing, probably, so it's a really reliable system in that aspect. Um, but again, there's multiple brands out there. This is the one that happened to catch our eye because it fit in the space that we needed. It takes up about a 2 foot by 2 foot space. And I didn't show it on the video, mainly because we still need to put down tile on the floor in that room. That's an upcoming remodeling project. Um, but that whole system, it sits on a dolly. So I can unlock the wheels and roll it out to work on it, and then just kind of roll it back into the corner, and it just kind of sits there just happily working throughout the week. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of different systems. This is just the one that I happen to choose. I actually know people that work for a competing company. So that was kind of awkward when I bought this system and started posting pictures of it on Facebook. But on the flip side, the company that supplies the nutrients for this, when we talk about that in a future video, is the same company that supplies all of our nutrients here at Bob's, and that is J.R. Peters up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So they supply all the nutrients for this company. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a future video when we start digging into all of the nutrients that go into it. And what they use is an A-B system. So you literally have just two bags of nutrients that you add, part A and part B. And then you also add in a pH adjuster to bring down the pH. So, well, that is a quick introduction to the hydroponics system that I have. We'll be seeing more of it, of course. And right now, we're starting to get some pretty nice weather. So hopefully, over the next month or two, I'm going to start heading outside some more. And we can kind of pick up the garden where we left off last fall. So we've seen the projects I'm working on outside before. I've got some projects in the works for this summer, the raised garden bed, and then also my meadow garden. I'm going to be expanding it. Actually just bought 3 pounds of seed the other day of wildflower seed and also native grass seed to use in that area. So yeah, I've got some big plans for this summer. So now we're just kind of waiting for the weather to start to improve. And as I mentioned after the greenhouse update, of course, you can follow us online at Bob's Market. You can also head over to our website at bobsmarket.com, and there you can find all kinds of great information. But over the upcoming weeks, be sure to follow us on social media because I'm starting to see a lot more blooms out in the greenhouse, which means you're going to start seeing a lot more blooms on our Facebook page, on Instagram, and on Twitter. And that ought to help put you in the gardening mood for this coming spring. And well, that is all that I have for this week. So until next time, keep growing. Okay, I'm back because I forgot something. I'm going to start trying to do some Instagram live stuff. So that's going to be something totally different from Bob's Live, which is kind of our more formal show during the week. Um, it's going to be more stuff just kind of out on location, kind of at any time. So at any time during the week, we could go live on Instagram. So just keep an eye out for that. If you don't follow us on Instagram, head over and check us out. It's the same as Facebook. It's at Bob's Market, and we're also over on Twitter. So we're going to start going live in more places, uh, separate from Bob's Live. But I'm just going to kind of experiment with that, and it's going to kind of be its own thing. And okay, now I'm starting to ramble, and it's already the end of the show. I already rolled the credits. This